Your Art Unlocked is produced by Art UK, the online home of the UK's national art collection. This podcast is supported by Bloomberg Connects, the free arts and culture platform that provides access to over 1,300 museums, galleries, and cultural spaces around the world. Listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts.
So we are looking at someone who seems to be looking at something else. This kind of creates a bit of distance and a bit of a gap, which is really intriguing to me.
I think overall it feels quite private, perhaps.
Against a loosely painted dark olive background, a woman in a green jumper looks away from the viewer. The frame is closely cropped, her head is slightly lowered, and her hair is tied back in a simple bun. Only half of her face is visible, and as a result, her facial expression is mostly ambiguous. Though if I had to guess, I'd say it's solemn.
She looks very put together and like she's wearing nice clothes, but you also get a sense of sadness and isolation, and I'm not sure why I feel that way. Maybe the way that she's sort of looking down to the side.
If this is a portrait of someone, then who is it, and why are they turned away?
When I think about traditional portraits, they usually feature a sitter looking straight at you, and they might be wearing something or holding something that reflects who they are. And that might tell us something like their status in society. But in this painting, there's none of that, so it's not obvious who the sitter is or why they're being painted.
For me, like, she feels familiar. She sort of looks like family members that I have.
This oil painting from 2013 is called To Tell Them There It's Got To, and it's by British artist and writer Lynette Yiadom-Boakye.
With such a vague title combined with this quite elusive composition, it's hard to arrive at any sort of conclusions about meaning, but perhaps that's intentional. I don't think every painting or every portrait needs to have its meaning spelled out in front of you.
I'm Precious Adesina, and in this episode of Your Art Unlocked, a podcast that brings to life some of the more unexpected objects in museum collections, we're heading to the Box in Plymouth to talk about a quietly subversive painting, one that doesn't give away its secrets very easily.
I'm not sure what this title means or why it was chosen, but perhaps that adds to the general mystery of this painting.
This is your art in your museums and galleries, so let's get to know it a little better. Now, we know this is a podcast, so before we get started properly, if you want to look at this work for yourself as you listen, head to Art UK and search for To Tell Them There. Lynette Yiadom-Boakye is a figurative painter born in London in 1977 who studied at the Royal Academy, Falmouth College of Art and Central St Martin's. In 2013, when To Tell Them There It's Got To was painted, she was shortlisted for the Turner Prize. At the time, her works were described as intriguing paintings that appear traditional, which also hints at the fact that her style is widely influenced by 19th and 20th century European painters, such as Edgar Degas and Edouard Manet, for example. But the description went on to say she's in fact much more innovative, and this is what we'll get into today. In many ways, To Tell Them There It's Got To fits into Lynette's typical approach to her paintings, but there are also some stylistic differences. For example, she is best known for her large-scale figurative oil paintings, yet this painting is small in comparison. It's only 60 centimetres high and 55 wide.
Stylistically, this work is very typical of the artist and the work they make. I think it's interesting to note the shape. It's obviously a square painting, it's not very big, and I think there's something really intimate about that.
This is Rhys Morgan, curator at the Box, speaking about Lynette's painting.
The intimacy is there in her work in a lot of different ways in terms of how figures relate to each other and how they then also relate to the audience viewing. With this image, I think there is something that's wholly Yiadom-Boakye's kind of style and it's wholly of her canon, but there is something about it that's got a kind of unique contemplative kind of tone. And I think that's very beautiful. And it's so interesting to see that set amongst her other works and works of other artists as well.
When I asked Lynette about this work, she said, this painting came from a series of paintings of people looking away, not addressing you, otherwise engaged. She was asking, how much can be understood without eye contact? without being able to read lips or raise eyebrows. She also said the cropping was very deliberate. It was about building as much as possible out of a very limited quantity of information and a limited viewpoint, suggesting a lot out of a very little. A gesture, a moment, the very quick turn of a head. But there's more to the work than meets the eye. In Lynette's paintings, the figures are not real. They are constructed from found images, memory, and her own imagination. Often, they are untethered to a time or place. It's something she has said gives her the freedom to do what she wants with her subjects. Here's Rhys again.
I think often we have seen imagined figures throughout painting, but I think what's interesting in the case of Yiadom-Boakye is they become, in a way, almost a vessel for us to interact with. We're less bogged down by who that person is and their personal history, and we're put in a place where we're considering something that's more broadly human, I think.
Lynette has said that she doesn't consider her figures people at all, but more a series of marks. She told me, I tend to think less about the subject and more about its physical transformation into paint. In order to truly focus on building a language in paint, to understand what I was trying to do, I needed to think in terms of the making of it. How do the marks coalesce to form the thing? How do the colours qualify each other? Where is the light coming from or going to? Even more ambiguous than the painting itself is the title. Lynette has previously said that she considers her titles an extra mark in the painting. As a result, they cannot be explained easily, or sometimes even at all.
The poetic titling of Yiadom-Boakye's work is very much a part of the fabric of the pieces, as though they're one line from a longer poem almost. Many portraits would feature the name of the person in the title, and that would lead us in certain directions in terms of how we read that image. But with the way that these works are titled, the way this painting is titled, it offers us a different way of reflecting on a work. It creates a different approach to the language of reading a painting.
Lynette is not only a painter, but also a writer. Her short stories and poems sit alongside her paintings, and she has said, I write about the things I can't paint, and I paint the things I can't write about. Her writing is often published in exhibition catalogues and artist books, where it appears as fragmentary short stories and prose poems. They are atmospheric, open-ended, and like her paintings, resist fixed narratives or clear resolutions. Taken together, her paintings and her writing leave much open to interpretation, allowing the viewer to construct their own stories, as Rhys explains.
The sitter in this piece is facing away from us. There's a sense of concealing in this, as though not everything is being revealed to us, or there's something that's being maybe slightly held back. The artist is choosing, I guess, not to give us everything, instead, I guess, provoking us to go on a journey.
I always find it helpful to imagine Lynette painting when I look at her work. I know she paints quickly and instinctively, with it being documented that she completes some paintings in a single day. I also know she listens to music while she paints. She has specifically mentioned Miles Davis and Bill Evans, both jazz musicians who make music that is spontaneously improvised, featuring, as Lynette has said, passages of sound that move unexpectedly. For me, they focus on emotion. To add to this, that kind of music isn't about telling a clear story, it's about creating a mood and leaving space for interpretation. Similarly, her paintings feel open and atmospheric, as though they capture a moment of feeling rather than a fixed narrative, inviting the viewer to sit with them. What do you feel when you look at this painting? Can you feel the jazz influence?
You can find out more about the box and hundreds of other collections on Bloomberg Connects, the free arts and culture platform. Download the app today.
Often people speak about the fact that most, if not all, of Lynette's subjects are black. Bringing this up is complicated, as Lynette herself doesn't look at her work in this way. In an interview I did with her in 2020 for a magazine called Galdem, she said, I've never defined the work like that myself or even questioned it. It has always been something that people feel that they have to mention, which I found weird. It's asking the wrong question. It shouldn't be why is everyone black, but why shouldn't everyone be black? And this has always stuck with me. Here in Europe, we are used to seeing white faces in portraiture, Seeing black ones, especially so consistently, can feel unusual, though it shouldn't be. Lynette is one of several artists who use the black figure in their work, and representation matters, which is why Rhys says that Lynette's work was such an important addition to the Box's collection.
The Box is committed to offering new understandings of history and our place within it, and platforming and celebrating the voices of those who haven't always been made visible. Our work, like to tell them where it's got to, is vital for a collection like ours, as it not only represents a different perspective and lived experience, but also how painting itself has changed over time, and therefore how art and society has changed, and maybe seeing parts of art and society and culture that we haven't really properly thought about before, say, in certain Western institutions.
But how does Lynette's work fit into the wider history of portraiture?
The history of European portraiture is often dominated by imagery of people of power and of influence, and in the vast majority white. And often those figures are very closely tied to colonial power structures. And works like this flip those narratives on their head and kind of ask us to consider different histories and open up opportunities for empathetic reflection on the lived experience of the people around us.
Lynette also told me in 2020 that one of her biggest inspirations is fiction. She mentioned that one of her favourite books is Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin, a 1956 novel about an American man living in Paris. I always found that absolutely extraordinary, how someone can write a character that is far from their own experience, she said at the time, noting that it sharpened to her own imagination. Baldwin's protagonists were often, though not exclusively, African American or black. So this painting is much more than a simple portrait. An imaginary figure, a face turned away, a black woman as a subject. It's clear why we should see Lynette's painting as radical. In very subtle ways, it challenges us to rethink portraiture, to consider who has historically been represented and why. It is a work connected to the history and conventions of portraiture, but at the same time, a collection of marks coalescing together under the artist's jazz-influenced, careful eye.
Your Art Unlocked is produced by Art UK, the online home of the UK's national art collection, supported by Bloomberg Connects. Explore more art at artuk.org.